This is Momentum Moments. I am Brandon Richards. Most of the faith I grew up hearing about had an ending built into it already. You believe, you hold on, and eventually God moves and everything lines up the way you pictured it lining up. And I don't think that's exactly wrong. I think it's incomplete because it quietly teaches that the whole point of faith is what you get out on the other side of it. And once you start believing that, every hard season becomes a referendum on what your faith, whether your faith is working or in what you believe. I've had seasons where I did everything I knew to do and still didn't resolve the way I wanted it to. And for a long time, I read that as a faith problem, like I hadn't believed hard enough, or I'd missed something, or God was testing whether I'd give up before He showed up. What I understand now is that the outcome was never the part I was supposed to be measuring. Hebrews 11 is the faith chapter, and everybody knows the first half of it. Through faith, they subdued kingdoms. They stopped the mouths of lions. They escaped the sword. It reads like a highlight reel. And if you stop there, it sounds like exactly what I grew up believing. Believe enough and watch the kingdom fall into your lap. But the same chapter, it keeps going. And it doesn't soften what it says next. Others were tortured. Others were stoned, cut in half, destitute, afflicted, wandering around with nothing. Same word for both groups, the same faith. There was no separation between the ones who got the miracle and the ones who got the blade. And that's the part almost nobody preaches because it doesn't fit the story we want faith to tell. I think that's actually the whole point of the chapter. It's not there to convince you faith produces outcomes. It's there to show you that faith was never being measured by the outcome in the first place. I had to relearn what I was actually asking God for. I used to pray for the big picture. In fact, you still want it, Fix this, resolve that. Show me how the next 5 years are going to go so I can stop being afraid of them. And somewhere in a season where none of that was coming, I started praying something a lot smaller instead. God, what do you want from me today? Not the year, but today. And I didn't understand until later that I was praying almost exactly what the Israelites were doing with the manna in the wilderness. God fed them one day at a time on purpose. He could have given them a supply for a month. Instead, they had to come back every single morning. And if they tried to hoard extra, it spoiled by the next day. I used to think that sounded pretty harsh, like God was being stingy with the provision. And now I think it's the opposite. He wasn't limiting what they had access to. He was making sure they kept showing up. And that's a hard adjustment if you spent your life wanting the whole plan up front. And I know it was for me. And there's a kind of faith that wants a guarantee before it commits to anything. And there's a different kind that moves before it has one. And Scripture is full of the second kind. Abraham, he left without an address. Israel walked in the sea before it opened. Nobody in those stories got the calm before they got to the obedience. The obedience came first. And whatever came after, it just came after. I always say it's going to be what it's going to be. I've lived both sides of that. I've had God ask something of me where I said yes without knowing what it would cost, and it did not make the fear go away. I thought surrender was supposed to settle you. It didn't settle me. What it did was put me in a position where I had to keep trusting Him in real time instead of trusting a plan I'd already gotten comfortable with. And I think that's actually closer to what faith is for. It's not a transaction where you put belief in and outcomes come out, It's like a vending machine, and it's not that. A relationship where you show up again tomorrow, not knowing exactly what's going to be asked of you, the same way you showed up today. Paul understood this better than almost anyone because his own life didn't resolve the way religious people expect a faithful life to resolve. He was beaten, shipwrecked, imprisoned, and at the end of it all, he says he counts that all of it, along with everything he used to be proud of, as nothing compared to knowing Christ. That's not a man measuring his faith by what it got him. That's a man who stopped measuring it that way entirely. So if you're in a season right now where you're doing everything right and it's still not resolving, I want to tell you that that isn't a verdict on your faith. It might just be the shape faith actually takes most of the time, which is smaller than we want it to be, and it's more daily than we want it to be. It's not the whole map, just enough to take the next step you're already standing in front of. What is it? That's still the question. Not what will you give me? What is it today, right here? And are you willing to ask again tomorrow when you don't have any more guarantee than you had this morning? I'm Brandon Richards. This has been Momentum Moments. If you want more of this, you'll find me at brandonrichards.com.